how much did he pay you to go to Australia for a month?
Nothing.
Somebody's making you go to Australia for a whole month? It just seems
Funny.
crazy to me. You moved to Nashville in the early 90s, like 93 you said.
93,
and how old were you, like 21?
20,
or like,
20 when I first
20.
moved,
You turned 21, after moving
Yeah.
to Nashville.
Yeah.
And then within 6 months you meet Keith Urban.
Yeah.
And he somehow convinces you to go to Australia for 6 months.
Yep.
And the reason that's weird to me is because I would have thought you grew up in a small town, West Virginia, right? Like I would have thought the whole point was to get to Nashville, and now you're leaving Nashville to go to Australia.
Well, and I was told it was going to be a month, and then we ended up being there for 6 months, just playing nonstop. We had this little car with a trailer on the back, and just went up and down the coast playing every rough bar you could think of. It was great, though. We got good.
And did you feel like when I first came to Nashville in those early days, I felt like you couldn't take me away from this place because I just felt any time I spent not in Nashville, I was falling behind or I wasn't making the connections or I wasn't doing the thing. Like, did you have any of that feeling? Like, oh my, like, what am I doing in Australia? This doesn't align. Now it aligns, but at the time, I feel like I would have been like, what am I doing here? I got to get back to Nashville.
I was so new. I guess I just didn't know any better. I didn't know anything about the music business.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I've said this before, like my brother and I and our friend John Dedrick, we all moved here together. And Lee Hendricks, who's the bass player with Eric Church, we all moved here at the same time. And in our tiny little town, we were,
the guys.
We were the guys.
Yeah.
So we were cocky when we moved here. And then we got schooled pretty quick once we got here.
And is that why you thought it seemed like a good idea to go to Australia? How much did he pay you to go to Australia for a month?
Nothing.
And you thought, so why did you think it was worth...
No money.
Why did you think it was worth taking a whole month out of your life? You finally got to Nashville, and now somebody's making you go to Australia for a whole month? It just seems crazy to me.
I've never thought about that before. What the hell was I thinking? I get maybe I was just so impressed with him in his basement. He had a little PA in his basement. Maybe I was just blown away by how good he was.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's wild. Now, there was no pay. There was nothing.
Really? He said, come to Australia to me? Because wasn't the reason that he was going to Australia was because he was getting paid?
Well,
or on gigs?
No. They had to go back because of the visa situation.
Okay.
They could only be in the States for so long, then they have to go back. So I guess he went back to play as many shows as he can to try to save some kind of money to come back. But we didn't even know each other. I just met him 2-3 weeks beforehand. And so every guy, like when I first get there, we get picked up by
to Australia, when you first get to Australia.
First arrive. And I'm green. I'm completely...
Had you ever left the country before?
No. I'm a hillbilly still at this point, country. And so someone picked us up, and then they took me to this couple's house and dropped me off. And so for the whole 6 months, people would, like every 2 weeks, other people would let me stay with them. So there was no money. There was no hotel rooms. And so we all had to stay with different families the whole time. And so I would meet people at a barbecue, and they would say, "Oh, come stay with me."
And would you have like one suitcase and a bass basically? And
that was it.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And did it feel productive? Like, did you feel like you were working towards whatever your goals were? Or to me, I would have been like, what the hell am I doing over here? I gotta get back to Nashville.
I guess I was stupid and young. I didn't realize there were any major goals at that point. He was so good. The band was so good
already. That was a guiding light.
And then every time we played, we got better and better and better and better. It's not like we went over there and played for big crowds. No one knew him there either. He had a tiny little following, like in Tamworth, that little town I was telling you about. That's the country music capital, but country was not big there, so he was not known at all. So it wasn't like we were going back home to
a
play
big
for
homecoming or anything.
No,
and
zero.
why do you think he should he couldn't find a bass player in Australia, or did you guys just really connect musically?
We
right
just
away?
connected. I mean, literally, I played the first song with him. His manager came into O'Charlie's where I was working and brought me a cassette tape with 3 or 4 songs on it, just rough demos. And I learned them, and I showed up at his house, played. We played one song, and he goes, you got a passport, mate? And I went, nope. He goes, well, we got to get one. And so we hurried it up and got it done real fast, and then I went over.
Isn't it funny? Like sometimes I used to promote shows in Nashville, little clubs, and sometimes band members would nickel and dime over getting paid for these gigs.
Right.
And sometimes band members would just say, "Oh, I just want to play, or I just want to show up and support this artist."
Yeah.
I always think that's how you know if it's a great artist. If the band members are like,
yeah.
"We'll play for free," that's you got something there. But if the band members are like, "No, you gotta pay us," it's probably not a great artist.
No, and it's long term. It's not a great. If you believe in that artist, it's not a great move to maybe demand all the money up front. Maybe you can kind of come up with them. You know, I've said before, like I've helped a lot of artists with their shows, and I've put bands together for artists, and I always think like you're Michael Jordan, the singer's Michael Jordan, but you need a Scottie Pippen. You need someone right there who's at least one guy in your band who is like a loyal guy who's going to be around with you all the time and makes you better, makes the band better. And to me, it's just long term so much better of a situation, you know, than expecting. Because, you know, what are you going to make at the very beginning? It's not real money, you know?
Yeah.
So might as well take a chance on somebody.